Hello, good evening. Welcome to the midweek edition of Business Live. Coming up in this bulletin, Finance Minister Dr. Kassia Atuforsen expected to propose aggressive reforms to the country's laws aimed at tightening government spending and improving tax collection when he presents the 2026 budget to government tomorrow. We'll be having a discussion ahead of the presentation. Also in this bulletin, Bank of Ghana's dollar intervention expected to be guided by clear regulation and framework. We'll be telling you more. Plus, on the Joy Business Van today, we will trace Takura's 25-year journey from a small workshop here in Accra to a global stage. Details of these and more for you. Please stay on. Thanks so much for your company. I am Pius Kojobaka, and looking at our stories. Finance Minister Dr. Kassia Atuforsen is expected to propose aggressive reforms to the country's laws aimed at tightening government spending and improving tax collection. These measures will be outlined in the 2026 budget, which will be presented to Parliament tomorrow. More in this report.
The proposals will target the Public Financial Management Act as well as the Ghana Integrated Financial Management Information System. This is what the Finance Minister will be proposing to help deal with any revenue mobilization challenges going into 2026. This should go a long way to help deal with potential challenges that will come about due to the proposed changes to the country's tax laws that could result in the scrapping of COVID-19 levy as well as the marginal reduction in the effective VAT rate from next year. The Public Financial Management Act, for instance, will look at how the current laws will be strengthened to check budget overruns. Government believes this will check the high budget overruns. The Finance Minister may not be seeking to roll out major projects, but rather how the existing ones can be strengthened to deliver the necessary results like the 24-hour economy program and the Big Push agenda.
Meanwhile, Dr. Forsen may also propose merging with the National Health Insurance Levy and Govt levy with a value-added tax rate. And we want to explore these. Joining us via Zoom is Nelson Kujo Kwagwaji, Head of Finance at Merban Capital. Nelson, thank you so much for making time to join us here on Business Live. Now, your thoughts about government's current approach to tax policy, and do you think the proposed changes will improve revenue mobilization from where you sit?
Well, thank you very much, and good evening, and thanks for having me. Well, the current structure of the VAT is actually business unfriendly because when you look at it critically, you get to know that Ghana's VAT system is Ghana's VAT rate is one of the highest within the West African sub-region. And when the announcement was made first that they are going to revise the current structure of the VAT to take away the cascading effect in the computation, I think businesses in general welcome the news, and there was a consultation of which I'm sure businesses were consulted. And so based on that, yes, we can say that once the final VAT rate is out, it's going to help to improve significantly on government revenue.
Let's consider this. If the National Health Insurance Levy and the Govt levy are merged with the VAT rate, what impact could that have on businesses and basically the cost of living?
Well, as it stands now, we don't really know the structure that the new VAT system will take, whether it will be meshed, or we don't really know how the structure will look like at the end of the day. But the most important thing is that the revision will bring on board some level of efficiency as far as VAT administration is concerned. As I did indicate earlier, the current structure of the VAT is having some cascading effect. where you take the original amount, you add Get Fund, you add NHIL, you add COVID levy before you get the vatable value and apply the standard rate of 15%. By the time you realize you are way above the average VAT rate within the sub-region. And so I think by the time we are done with the new structure, it will be business friendly and it will go a long way to lessen the impact of the operational cost of businesses.
And looking at how difficult it's been for us to widen our tax base, what practical steps should government take to bring more individuals and businesses into the formal tax system?
All right, Ghana's economy is largely informal. The informal sector of the economy represents about 70% of the total economy. And so it is only the 30% that is paying tax for everybody. So in order to broaden the tax net and rake in additional taxes, I think government should be looking more at the informal sector. I mean, we have so many businesses, so many SMEs who don't pay tax because they felt their operation doesn't meet the threshold for paying of taxes, but that is not true. Paying of tax is a civic responsibility because tax revenue is the lifeblood of every economy. So I think in order to broaden the tax net and rake in individuals and businesses, we should focus more attention on the informal sector. That is where the meat is.
And talking about, doing that, how can the Ghana Revenue Authority enhance compliance and efficiently or effectively do that without burdening or overburdening the taxpayer?
Well, I think recently the Ghana Revenue Authority introduced the modified tax system that is supposed to simplify, tax payments and for businesses. So I think that one of the ways they can do that is through simplification of revenue administration in this country. And I think GRS has done that already. In every nooks and cranny of this country, you will find the nearest, GRA office. And so that is good. And I also think the next thing to look at is the digitization of the tax system. So me as a business person, I can be in my office and then I can file my tax return. I can pay my taxes online. So these are some of the areas that I think the GRA has to look at, which I am sure as a tax practitioner myself, GRA has been working on this for some time now to simplify, the payment and filing obligation of taxpayers.
Nelson, do you think the push for higher tax revenues could slow down private sector growth, or there is a way to strike a healthy balance between the two?
Well, in taxation, there is a concept called the Laffer curve. The Laffer curve explains that there is an optimal level that a tax rate can rake in an amount of tax revenue. Once the tax rate is more than that percentage, then it's a disincentive to businesses. So I think that when you raise your tax rate, what it means is that businesses will not pay tax. But that will also mean that government revenue will also suffer. And so at this point, I don't think the conversation should be about increasing the rate in order to increase government revenue. I think the base has not been broadened enough. And as I did indicate earlier, we have so many untaxed sectors of the economy. We need to focus more rather than thinking of increasing tax rate. And as I did indicate on another platform, I don't foresee the government in the next year budget increasing new taxes. I think that the government must rather try to seal the leakages as far as revenue collection and administration is concerned.
And as we round up the conversation, largely your expectations of tomorrow's budget, we are a few hours away.
Well, I am projecting the budget to actually center more on growth. We have enjoyed relative stability of the economy. In fact, when you look at most of the macro and fiscal, fundamentals, the fundamentals, somebody may say, are strong now. So I think this is the time for us to grow because with the event that happens today at LWAC, it clearly shows that the unemployment rate in this country is still high. And you can only create jobs through growth. And so I think the budget should be centered more on growth. The budget should be centered more on empowering the private sector because it is actually the private sector that can create the decent, quality, and sustainable jobs. So I am expecting the budget to focus more on growth and job creation.
Nelson Kujo Kwagbaji, thank you so much for joining us here on the Business Life, I should say. And we want to say all longer on the 2026 budget because the Chamber of Agribusiness has appealed to the government to increase the budgetary allocation to agriculture to add at least 10% of the country's gross domestic product. The government allocated some 1.54 billion cedis to the agricultural sector in the 2025 budget. And this represents about 0.115% of the projected GDP for 2025. Now, sharing his expectations ahead of the budget, Chief Executive of the Chamber, Anthony Morrison, said some significant investment will be needed to improve the weak infrastructure system within the sector.
More emphasis have to be put on how we can address the weak infrastructure system that we have in the country, intensification of mechanization. How do we attract the youth into key areas of production? How do we make sure that we have trained them to also man, maintain, and use some of this machinery that we'll be bringing in? We also need to look at the global competitiveness. How are we building global trade, agri-trade intelligence on our cocoa, on our palm, on our cashew? Which other countries are being competitive and what are they doing to be competitive? And are we also in that doing system of investing to research and development? Government ought to understand agriculture is a competition. The current soya trade between America and China is as a result of the fact that soya globally is worth over $50 billion. Okay, so it's about competition. If you don't invest into research, you don't get anything in return. Now, as a country, where are our weaker areas? We've spoken about irrigation. We've spoken about other areas. And I think that fundamentally, we need to increase the current 3% threshold of GDP to at least 10%. We should be able to have continual investment of no less than 1.5 billion for the next 5 to 10 years to make us competitive.
Away from the 2026 budget, the Bank of Ghana's dollar intervention will now be guided by clear regulations and guidelines. This was after the board of the Bank of Ghana approved a framework to guide the actions of the regulator. Here's more.
In the past, these dollar interventions has been influenced by demand and supply, and any time that the Ghana cedi is under some pressure. However, from now, there will be clear rules on how these things should be done by the Bank of Ghana. The move is part of IMF proposals to ensure that this action doesn't end up depleting the country's dollar reserves. The new framework will also ensure that the foreign exchange interventions are done in a transparent manner, whilst the Bank of Ghana will work to build up adequate reserves. The central bank, by this policy, will also ensure that the interventions are done in an orderly manner.
This is still Business Life. We have the Joy Business for you after this break. Hello, welcome back to Business Life. Let's now take the Joy Business van. For a quarter of a century, Takura has carved more than furniture. It has shaped a legacy. Born from reclaimed wood and a shared dream, this Ghanaian design house stands as a testament to creativity, sustainability, and family. What began in a small workshop here in Accra has grown into a symbol of Ghanaian craftsmanship and eco-conscious innovation. In the first part of the Joy Business Van series, we sit down with the couple who started it all.
For 25 years, Takura has been at the forefront of Ghanaian design, transforming reclaimed wood into beautiful, sustainable furniture and lifestyle pieces. But the story of Takura is more than craftsmanship. It's a story of vision, resilience, and evolution. We meet Josephine Abba Kwanchua Forsen, who started Takura with the support of her husband, Emmanuel Kwekutechi Forsen.
In the year 2000, I was working with Aid to Artisans Ghana. It's an NGO that was working with the artisans in crafts and other handmade products. And And so that was where I got the interest from. And I was also thinking of doing something on my own, right? Because it's an NGO and I was also growing, and I need to have an income that can support my family. And so when I saw the artisans using their hands to produce something, and the white people are more interested in that, I said this is a way of making money, and I went into it.
Founded in the year 2000, the company was born from a shared dream. In fact, the name Takura is a fusion of the founders' names, a symbol of their commitment to work together and bring their vision to life.
Takura is two names joined together. In our Fanti culture, you have your local name, like I'm Kwekutechi, and she is Abakranchwa. And when you go to school, then they give you the English one. You add Emmanuel to, so Emmanuel Kwekuforsen or Josephine Abamensa. And so we fused the two together. We took Techi, which is Tekyi, and then Kranchwa, which is Kuran, right? And fused the two together, making it a union.
And I must say that the name has really helped us, especially in our marriage, because anytime, as married couples, there's misunderstanding or whatever it is, once we come together to work, everything is resolved. And so the name Takura is a powerful tool that God gave us.
What inspired the start of Takura was a simple idea to create furniture that reflects Ghana's culture while using materials in a way that respects the environment. Reclaimed wood and offcuts were a natural choice, giving new life to materials that would otherwise go to waste.
You have to go through a certain process before you can get one tree to cut down, right? Before you can split and bring all those things down. So we decided that why don't we go for the offcuts, branches and stumpages that are around, instead of going to cut the full trees down.
That is from the timber, how do you call them? The timber contractors. Yes, they will buy the standing trees and then they leave the offcuts. The offcuts are for the forestry and they leave them in the forest. And so when we went with the idea of reclaiming those offcuts, the forestry people were very happy.
Long before sustainability became a global trend, Takura was already pioneering eco-conscious design in Ghana. It wasn't just about furniture, it was about contributing to Ghanaian culture through craftsmanship and creativity.
When we started, we were just collecting pieces, right? That was how we joined. But then we realized that the products are, when we go for exhibitions, the products are the same. And so what can we do out of the samples that we are getting? And we began thinking and we said, no, let's put them into functional use. And so we started the mask tables and people started copying. So if they bring you a mask or a figure, you try to make it a table or something on the wall that you can put a plant on it. And so we did the functional products that helped us. We started getting bigger orders, and we're also thinking of our everyday use of things.
The couple reflects on Takura's 25-year journey.
25 years has not been an easy journey, but then with determination, we have been able to get this far. We first want to thank God for how far He has brought us. And our prayer is that the next generation that has taken up Takura will also take it to a higher height, and then it will follow. Even when we are done and gone, our names will still be mentioned.
And for us, this thing that has been sustained it goes beyond our imagination. We never thought that all the effort would come this way, but by His grace, now at least the main aim of having something sustainable running far beyond us is in progress, and it's good for us. It makes us happy.
As the business grew, so did the vision, but with growth came the challenge of passing the baton to a new generation.